Buenas noches, good evening, and welcome to Centro Cultural Aztlan's 43rd annual Dia de los Muertos celebration, Altares and Ofrendas. My name is Kelly Rosa Cabonog Romero, and I am honored to welcome you to this year's celebration. COVID-19 has changed the way that we do our programming and our exhibitions here at Centro, but we've been able to adjust, and we are so pleased and honored to bring you this year's celebration. We've teamed up with artists, poets, and musicians to continue our celebration of this ancient tradition, this pre-Columbian Mexican tradition that we've celebrated in our comunidad. Since 1977, Centro Aztlan has opened its doors to the comunidad to celebrate this tradition by bringing artists, poets, musicians, and community members together to remember our loved ones. In Mexico, death is not seen as something to be mourned or to be sad about, but rather we celebrate life with música, cultura, dance, food, and all kinds of fun. So sit back and relax from your living room and enjoy our 43rd annual celebration of Dia de los Muertos. On behalf of Malena Gonzalez Cid, our executive director, the board of directors, the staff, the community of artists, musicians, and familia that make up Centro Cultural Aztlan, we hope you enjoy this year's celebration.
Un saludo muy grande para todos. Aquí estamos otra vez en el Centro Cultural Aztlan de San Antonio, Texas, celebrando uno de tantos eventos tan fabulosos y maravillosos que han sucedido aquí en este lugar. At this time, we celebrate with poetry how la muerte, la pelona, la parca, la huesuda, la eterna. We can name her in any way we want to, but it should be humorous. And who? Let's begin by identifying. Pues, ¿quién es la pelona? Well, I happen to have a pelona poem in Chicano popcorn. Todos dicen que en las noches sale la pelona loca, que anda en carro, que anda en troca, que anda por la H-E-B. Y la vieron en TV. Dicen que sale a los bailes de guitarra y acordeón. Un misterio en la comarca. Dicen que le gusta el arpa. Tira chancla y no se cansa. She can boogie with the best. ¿Quién le iba a sospechar that she was eternal rest? Que te sale la pelona, que te agarra la pelona. No te dejes que te agarre por detrás. Aunque nadie se le escapa, nunca falla la calaca. Aguzao con tu pellejo. Si quieres llegar a viejo, ten cuidado con la mano. En el baile o aeroplano, el mercado o el excusao. Ponte vivo y ponte al alba. Uy, que ni te toque una nalga. Si te agarra la muy mona, ya te llevó la pelona. So that's who she is. Esa es la personalidad y el carácter de la pelona.
The altar that I did this year is called I Can't Breathe by George Floyd. And it's the skull, and there's 5 small skulls above the head. There's 5 of them. Represents the policeman who was involved of his death. Well, I have the other 2 skulls on the side of the puppet that for the virus. So I made some skeletons to decorate them, and I had the mask over the mouth, and just to remember George Floyd, what really happened. We saw everything in front of our eyes. And hopefully when they see this, they'll see not only the altar but itself, but you could go to other areas and other subject areas also.
My daughter lost her grandmother 2 years ago. It was her father's mother. I lost my grandmother. She raised me, actually. I lost her last year, and it was around the same time. I remember, I just have this memory of her consoling me, telling me that she knows what it's like. And I just wanted to kind of honor that memory and, both women's memory with the altar. Her grandmother was from northern New York, and my grandmother's from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, which is on the border. So I was commemorating their distance, their closeness, and put like a river. You'll find that there's some garlands that are eggs. I'm primarily a painter, and I love to use fried eggs as a symbol of some sort of like feminism, because I don't know. I have my own, there's reasons behind it, but they were both really strong-headed women. And I also had my grandfather in there. But my grandmother and her grandmother were, very, my grandmother owned a business, and she was a college professor, and it's just like this, like, chingona vibe. I don't know, that's what the eggs are supposed to represent.
So the altars I work on, they started off really small, and they started kind of arty, not really about anything, or they were just the idea of putting an altar up. But they've evolved over the years that I've been doing them. So every year they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I add another family member or maybe a friend who's passed away. So every year they get bigger. So they started with a little shelf, in my living room, to a big altar, and here at the gallery. So they've evolved, and the way I've done them and thought about them has evolved. I could sit there and start crying, remembering, oh, my grandma, or oh, so-and-so, and then I put things that I remember, and so, yeah, they change. Every year they change. And the meaning to me, it gets stronger, and then I've also helped people make them. Like, they'll invite me to their house, and I'll tell them what to get out and things, and teach them how to make one. And so that's been, it's always changing, about what it means to me. Well, I have a big Katrina. She's about, standing tall, she'd probably be 12 feet, 13 feet, but she's too big, so we have her sitting down. So she's always the centerpiece, and then she changes too. Her face might be a Frida, or it might be, I put a cover on her head, and she reminds me of my grandmother. So she's kind of stayed at my grandmother. To anybody who sees this, to maybe think about it, look it up, Google it, come by, look at the ask, and maybe do one for your family in your house, something small. It doesn't have to be big, it can be a little table. And every year, just to remember the family that's gone and that's not here anymore, and honor them with things that they liked, and learn about it, and it'll be, it's good. It's a good mourning process. It's a good remembering process, just to show them that you care and you love them and you miss them.
Well, how about Malena Gonzalez Cid? Malena has been here. Well, okay, let me tell you. La steward caretaker woman, 33 years at the Centro. I'm talking about her tenure at Centro Cultural Aztlan. Holy, 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 holy guacamole. Just one of the many rollies, gastronomical atole at Centro's many frijoles. She had concurso tamales, showcasing local moles, arte de cascarones, papel picado, Día de la Virgen, Día del Chicano. Te digo que todo es cierto. También el Día de los Muertos. Artistas, pues ni qué se diga. Sus paredes expusieron un chorral de lonas finas. Lo hacía con pan dulce y vino, virongas, negros y chinos. En una de tantas fiestas se le arrima una funesta. ¿Y esta por qué se cree?, pensó Malena González. Vente conmigo, mi vida. Te sales, dijo Malena. Yo no soy tu consentida. No te me enfades, Malena, si nomás vengo por ti. Y le dijo la pelona, antes de que cante un gallo, dirás tú que ya me fui. Pues, pa' sus males o sus bienes, la Malena oyó de lejos, como poético coro, un gallito y 4 loros cantar kikiriki.
I always paint women. I'm known for painting portraits of women. I always viewed them as a form of strength. And so I decided to relate it to memories of growing up when the women would always surround the dying and have their veils and would pray over them to pray that they would cross over and be forgiven. And so I wanted to incorporate those memories into this painting. So she's wearing a black veil, and you'll notice that she has also draped over her head face masks, and they're supposed to represent people that died because of this COVID pandemic. I did want to do it kind of vintage. I've always looked up to my relatives, my elders, my grandmother. She was part of her, and of course my mother and my aunts were part of my raising, my upbringing. And so because my grandmother was born in 1908, she always carried a vintage look to her. She always kept that look. And so I just wanted to do something, in that kind of style. Just reminded me of those days.
Another countries like they speak Spanish, like Belize, Guatemala, they have this tradition too, but originally is from Mexico. It doesn't matter in this moment what kind of religion you have. This is a cultural thing in my country. This is a celebration. This is we enjoy how we have in our veins, our ancestors. We celebrate they were here, because if they don't work here, we are not here. And we celebrate every moment, but in November is a special day. Before was the 1st of November was for the little ones. The little ones they depart soon. But the second is for the adults. Now is more the celebration for the second, the regular thing, but that is they started 1st and 2nd of November. Just I want to add, in this time of pandemic things, we live now, I am a teacher too. I teach little kids, and I am with the bus probably around 9 hours a day in the morning, all day. And just I want to add, in my painting, I put some lights on the background because they shine in this time. When they go, they continue shine. That is the day of it. We celebrate. I know it's so difficult because we are a human. We have a feeling. We have a concerns about this, but they shine. They continue shine.
Well, I like to do realism in my work. And I work in oils, but I wanted to take a different approach to the subject matter and the holiday as well. So when you celebrate the Dia de los Muertos, you know, you're kind of seeing through people what they've been through and really the remembrance that they have of individuals that have passed in their lives. And that's exactly why I did the design of my work. Without eyes, it's almost like you can see through them and you get a glimpse of what that individual or that person is going through, or, you know, the memories of, if you will. What inspired me to do this, like I said, I wanted to take a different outlook or a different approach on how I presented the work. In all my previous works, I like to do the realism. I try to capture that three-dimensional feel to it, but this one was more of a spiritual observance, I guess, from within, what the individual may be going through or may be seeing. And there's a lot of interpretations as far as how a viewer would see the work. But my personal view on it was I wanted to kind of give a glimpse on the inside. Yes, you see the paintings. Yes, you see the design and so forth. But I wanted to take the viewer into the mind or the emotion of the person dressed and celebrating Dia de los Muertos.
My painting is a portrait, a wood-burn portrait of Rocío Durcal. She's a Spanish singer. I did it because when my grandmother was alive, she used to listen to a lot of classic singers, such as, you know, Rocío or like Vicente Fernandez. So I wanted to do this portrait as sort of a tribute to both my grandmother and the late Spanish singer. I've always had a fascination with wood and wood grains, so I decided to do a wood burning piece, and I also incorporated both oil stains and acrylic paint. So it's just kind of like a amalgamation of all of these types of mediums and surfaces. I'm trying to convey the message of a legacy, legacy's never dying, and, you know, to this day, you still hear Amor Eterno played at like funerals or like even parties, and I just want this to be sort of a memorial and a, you know, emphasis on how important legacy is.
I didn't want to paint a sugar skull. So I said, just paint a Vato Loco skull, right? So I put the glasses and the headband. And I said, there's too much room there. I got to do something else. You know? So then I did gambling cards, and I come I said, Naki is a gambler and got to die of something, so I put the bullet hole on his head. And so that's the reason that he got killed. But his name was Ace. They called him Ace. Don't gamble when you don't have money.
My painting is entitled Rosalinda Menchaca, and it is a tribute to my to my mother-in-law. She recently passed away on May 4th, 2020. And so I wanted to capture that image. So when I showed my tia the picture of the painting, she says, I don't remember Rosa that way. And so when we showed her the picture that she had given us, she goes, oh my God, it is, it's my sister. So I think it touched the nerve in that sense. And in the painting, she's holding roses. And of course, her name is Rosalinda. And roses was her favorite flower. And of course, I painted the pink background on it, and it's like in a black and white color, like in a black and white photo. It's something different that I've done. Usually I've done colorful paintings, but I just wanted to capture that image, that black and white image from the past. So, and then put it now into the present.
More of a caricature, like a whimsical type, but with a serious message. I was sort of stuck on what to do, and then I do what a lot of artists throughout the centuries have done. I drew myself. What would I look like as a calaca, as a skeleton for Dia de los Muertos? So I drew myself in that manner, but I added the only hint of La Corona. I call La COVID-19 La Corona. I did a mask with the logo of Aztlan. It's a really strong message, even though it's sort of a fun-looking drawing. The message is really heavy. You know, it's weight. I know it's weighed on every American, every human being in the world, and I just put it down. You know, because it's been so stressful, and I think especially on Americans, the way our failed leadership has handled it. You know that I was gonna get a lot more political, but I sort of pulled back. I thought I want to be subtle about this, because my work reflects a lot of social issues, social justice issues, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go subtle this time, you know. But it's a very, very serious issue that I think needs to be addressed. We can do a lot better in America, especially with the wealth that we have and the knowledge and so forth, resources that we can do a whole lot better to protect, you know, from the bottom up, not the top down. Top down I already have it made, but I've always been cognizant of that we're only as good as our poorest of the poor, you know, as the voiceless, as the powerless, you know, the forgotten people.
Over painting, I was painting that one in a manner of trying to tell the message of people that have died through Corona. So I put a couple of tombstones with names like Mom and Dad, because I'm sure that somebody did lose somebody in that line, you know. And then I added the Muertos, the skeleton, which is in white and black. And then the virus, I did a little bit of color on it. And I started with a smaller virus, and then at the end, at the other side of the painting, it took over the body, and that's where the calavera came out.
I have started to delve into jewelry because I find that with words, they stay on paper. But I decided, they learned discovered that I like nice jewelry. I like things that are well done. And say, well, I think I can do that. So that gives me a chance to, instead of use words, incorporate textures, different textures, and colors, being an artist as well. And that to go ahead and create something that's unique for that purpose. In this case, Dia de los Muertos. It's been a wonderful experience because I take pride in telling someone who happens to purchase one of my jewelry pieces, that what they are wearing they won't see on anyone else. I do not duplicate a style or anything, and I always add a phrase when I also give new jewelry, to wear it in good health.
And if indeed it is true that some ancient traditions have survived more than 500 years of Catholicism influence, it is also true that the original purity was lost while fundamental characteristics remain. The celebrations that now we see are a complex mixture of indigenous beliefs and practices, and also those imposed by the Spanish Church. In modern Mexico, the artistic expression of that reached a zenith when Jose Guadalupe Posada, 1852-1913, who was a political cartoonist, illustrator, and printmaker. Posada depicted politicians and other important figures as skeletons. In his work, his intention was to poke fun at the wealthy and to remind people that in death all souls are equal, pure skeletons. In the same matter, I started using skeletons in my work. I started in the late 70s and early 80s. The question is, how or why made me to do it? Back in the 60s, my art was pure and plain. Mexican escapes, rural views, flowers, etc., etc. No political, no social paintings. In 1976, on a trip to the coast of California, I entered to a nudist camp by the ocean. In the parking lot, there were Rolls Royce, there were Volkswagens, Fords, motorcycles, etc. I swear that I couldn't match the owners when I saw them naked. So I started painting nudes, utilizing the body as a way to emphasize the social equality. Later, around 1983, the function was exaggerated and I started to use clothes on them to create identity, to create this equality. Later, I mixed the skeletons and live person. Here in this painting, I am retaliating my disdain I felt for the corrupt government of President Donald Trump. He insulted my race, my roots, my culture many times. I hope my story critiques, news, and items in here are easier to grasp and understand rather than my talk. Raúl Servín, November 2nd, 2020.
you.